Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. You made it through another week. First off, I want to start off today's episode by talking about that, it's obvious that we're facing challenging times now, that, there's going to be a lot less money coming in and a lot more going out out of your wallet in the next, for the next couple of years at least. But it's rough, but the good thing is that history has taught us how to deal with this before, and if you're a student of history, you'll know what to do. The old timers, especially the guys from the Depression, things like that, our grandparents, they knew how to handle it when times got tough and how to still get through this. One of the things that you still got to enjoy yourself, you still got to have fun. So a lot of the hobbies that we turn to are hobbies that are less expensive, but you can still enjoy yourself, I remember when I was a kid, coin collecting. Now, I didn't have any money to go out and to go to these coin shows and buy these expensive, really nice coins, but we would search our change, and we would go and ask our parents, do you have any spare change that I could look through, and you could start a coin collection doing that. I had a good friend that used to be on the channel. His name was Dave, American Coin Hunting. His channel's been dead for like 5 years. I hope he hasn't met with some bad fate, but he was a great guy, Dave. And he wanted to get into coin collecting. So you know what he did? He actually got a metal detector and started going around detecting coins under the ground. He built up a huge collection of beautiful silver coins and everything just from digging them up. It was amazing. So you can always find something to do. And one thing that is always fun to do is photography, especially with these new phones. You don't need a nice camera. Years ago, we spent a lot of money on film and camera. Today, with these phones, you can have such a blast with photography. And I wanted to point out a good friend of mine, John Fix. John Fix, you know him. He's a friend of the channel. He's got his own tool restoration channel, which is really great. We took him over 1,000 subscribers. He's shooting up there. Great guy. He has taken the art of photographing tools to the next level. Look at some of these beautiful photographs that he posts on Instagram. And a good friend of mine, Ben, the tool addict, he's been doing it too. But John has taken it to like the next level. I'm telling you, I think he's the best out there. What do you think? He could make a calendar with the beautiful restorations and then photographing it, and just the best I've seen. So congratulations. I really look forward to John's posts and things like that. So that's a good hobby. Another hobby that I've always been interested in is astronomy. You know that. Astronomy is a fantastic hobby, and you don't need a telescope. You can get out there. And just to show you, last night, I felt like looking at the stars, and I went out there and I said, I remember with the Scouts, I would have to teach celestial navigation and things like that. And a lot of you don't know, here in the Northern Hemisphere, where the North Star is. As a kid, you grow up and you point to the brightest star and you go, oh, is that the North Star? It's not the brightest star or the brightest heavenly body in the sky by far, but it is easy to find. And I just thought maybe a quick 2-minute tutorial on how to find the North Star. If ever you get lost, you want to find North, it's really easy to find. Let me show you. Okay, one of the requirements of all my Scouts was to be able to pick out the North Star at any time during the evening. And to do that, stars have different magnitudes, which means brightnesses. Now, you can see here, the stars, you can see some, it has nothing to do with how far away they are. It's usually how big and bright the star is. So, they go by magnitude. And different constellations had different stars that stood out, like in Ursa Major, which meant Great Bear in Latin. They had the Big Dipper. Now, this is the Big Dipper, and the reason they called it Big Dipper is because if you connected the bright stars in that constellation, you could see that it looked very similar to a dipper that, that you would use, let's say, to like almost like a pot, like a dipper, you could see. So that's why they called that the Big Dipper. Now, there was a Big Dipper and there was a Little Dipper, okay? And what you would do to get the North Star is you would look for the Big Dipper. Now, here's the Little Dipper in comparison to where the Big Dipper is. And what's interesting is it's very easy to find, even in, like, I live in a city, so you don't see a lot of stars, but it gets, believe it or not, the further upstate, like my property upstate, there's so many stars, it's actually hard to pick out certain constellations or different stars within that constellation because there's so many stars. But here in the city, it's very easy to see the Big Dipper. And what you do is you find the Big Dipper. Now remember, the stars, the Earth rotates, so this could be in any position at any time, but you just go by the shape. And if you find the Big Dipper, what you do is you take the 2 stars at the part of the pot. Not, this is the handle, this would be the pot. These 2 stars here, and you take this length here about 3 times, and that'll take you to Polaris, and that's the North Star. That also happens to be the last star in this, the Little Dippers. You can see here, here's the Little Dipper, okay? And that's the handle, the last star. So the reason they call that the North Star is because when the Earth rotates, all these stars will rotate around this. This will stay stationary, and all these stars will look like they're rotating if you use like a time-lapse camera, because of the way the Earth spins. That will stay in one position. So very interesting. That's how you find the North Star. Take the Big Dipper and these 2 stars going up. Now, one thing I want to try out with this new camera, I'm not crazy about the new iPhone, but it has very good low light capability. Last night I shot this picture. You might have to look closely, but I took this with this camera and no tripod. It took 10-second exposure, but look how interesting that you could see the actual Big Dipper and the North Star. So if ever you happen to be in the northern hemisphere here in the United States, and you need to find out which way north is, just look for the Big Dipper, follow those 2 stars up about 3 lengths ahead, and you'll find the North Star, then follow that straight down, and that'll be true north. So that's always interesting to know. It's something we all should know, but I remember as a kid, we'd always look at the the brightest star and go, oh, that's the Northern Star, Polaris, but it wasn't. Okay, next up, I got an interesting pair of pliers to share with you that I wanted to do. Let's check them out. Okay, for those of you who follow the show, you know I'm kind of a plier guy, and I paid a crazy amount of money for these pliers. For me, right? I usually get pliers for a couple dollars or so. I paid $20 for these on eBay, shipped, but $20. That's a lot of money for a pair of pliers that's as old as me or older. And you see what these are? These here, you never see these too often. And you can see here it says S&H Company, and they were out of Jamestown, New York. You see that? Made in the USA. And what S&H Company was, it was the Smith and Hemingway Company. And they were founded in 1898 by Landon Smith and John Hemingway. And you'll probably notice that it looks very close to a Utica 1000. And it is because they were importers and for Utica Company. So what they used to do is a lot of times these tool companies, back then, there was a lot of tool companies that would merge. In fact, S&H, Smith and Hemingway, were taken over in 1926 by Crescent Tool Company. And you'll see a lot of later ones, the S&H that was replaced with Red Devil. So, you see a lot. It's very interesting to find the history of the tool. But what I like about this so much, I love this style of pliers. It's totally heavy duty. I like these cutters because I do a lot of wire cutting. These cutters are superior to the side cutters for cutting what I like to cut. Like I used to cut a lot of hangers. And this even has a reinforcement. If you look over here, it's reinforced on the bottom because a lot of times this would chip away. You see there'd be a little chip there. And when it chipped away, this is a reinforcement to stop that from happening. So these were really, really high quality pliers. And what I want to do is I want to just make them nice, but I must keep all the lettering and everything on here. So what do you say we do that real quick? Just a lovely pair, isn't it? Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this Smith & Hemingway pliers looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Again, this wasn't a tear down. This was just a cleanup because I want to keep these as close to original as possible. That's why I didn't go crazy with the flap wheel. As a matter of fact, I use a very worn, you can see here, this is a 120 grit, but it's so worn that it doesn't feel like there's any grit left. You can see the shine on there, right? And what this will do, this will actually polish the surface. Now, there was some kind of coating from the factory. I don't know what kind of protective coating they put on, but all that will do is polish the surface, almost like a rubbing compound or something. And you could see how nice it came out and how we were able to keep every one of those letters nice and deep. But also, you have little dings and stuff that were from year, you won't get that out. But this is, like I said, a conservation type restoration, you know, where I just wanted, I got all the staining out, all the rust out. I didn't polish the inside here. This is the original factory forging in here. But again, like I said, I want to keep it because this is a kind of a somewhat rare. They're not expensive. You know, these pliers aren't expensive, but you know, S&H, you don't see them too often, and this is something I will use. But can I show you something really nice about these? First of all, you see what we did with the, you know, with the edge. Always you could see that little bevel I put on there, so it's nice and smooth. But look at these jaws. Have you ever seen it, jaws? Look at those swirl cuts. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. And on this side, it's got a little ridge that runs up and down, so you can hold something straight up and down. Just beautiful. These are real. And you got the same thing here for pulling wires in the bottom, and they're sharp and deep, and it closes, and just lovely. Let me show you how nicely these work and how they cut. Now, the reason I like these cutters so much is because I used to make a lot of stuff out of wire hangers because it was inexpensive stock. It's good, stiff. This is heavy duty, not like the wire hangers they make today. But watch how easily it cuts in here. You see, you put it in here like this, and watch this. It just, and it's got 3 cutters, one there and on each end. So they cut just beautifully. And any kind, again, these type of wires, or if you have some kind of brass stock or something you had to cut, just phenomenal cutters. They're not meant for, like, you know, cutting stranded wire and stuff, but that's what they are. So very much like the Utica 1000. Aren't these nice? That was in a can. Okay, last up, now that it's November, the holidays are quickly approaching, and there's no better way to save some extra money and to really make an impact is then to make your own gifts for loved ones for the coming holidays. And I'll tell you, every gift I've ever received that was homemade is more cherished to me than anything that was ever bought for me. So I'm sure a lot of you out there feel the same way. And as a matter of fact, a good friend of the show by the name of Tom Graves, he last year lost his father, and what he did was he made these amazing shadow boxes for his for the grandchildren, so that they have something to remember their grandfather by. And he incorporated some restored tools that was his father's, and he incorporated some other memorabilia throughout the life. And I'll tell you, the kids were absolutely ecstatic to receive these shadow boxes. And what a great idea. Thanks for sending that to me, Tom. And just another idea of things that you can do to beat the system, more or less, and enjoy yourself and make a lasting gift that everybody will appreciate for many years to come. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday. Take care now. Bye-bye.